Welcome back to another episode of the Rockfit Files. This episode, I get to sit down with Chris McSwain. He is one of the founders of Splash Lab, and this is an organization that is all about club sports, basketball, and the like, and he's set it up so that a whole bunch of young athletes have a promising future, whether that's scholarships or just in life itself. He's also a teacher at Valley Christian out of Los Gatos, San Jose area here in California, and I think you're going to enjoy our conversation. And then in terms of your career, what's your full-time position or career right now?
Yeah, so I do three different things, really. So I teach at Valley Christian High School, exercise science and health. So I teach 2 classes a day there because I also own my a club basketball business and football, and we have baseball. So these are travel teams that kind of go year round. And then we have a gym called Splash Lab that we own as well. Kind of all under the Top Flight Sports umbrella, which would be the holding company. And then you have these other offshoots like our Top Flight Elite basketball, Top Flight Elite football, baseball, and then Splash Lab, which is the training facility in downtown San Jose that we have. So kind of multitude of things, but they kind of all revolve around sports. And that's kind of what ignited me when I was young. And that's the reason why I got good grades in school and things like that. And I decided to continue with that journey once I knew what I wanted to do.
Man, I got so many questions now. So first of all, Splash Lab, that sounds like it's going to be a swim center, but where did that name come from, Splash Lab?
Well, it generates from the Warriors, probably, with the Splash Brothers. So kids nowadays, all they want to do is be able to shoot the basketball like, Steph Curry or Klay Thompson. And really all the great players have the ability to shoot. And so when we were thinking about different names to come up with, we said, hey, well, we're going to be focused on skill development, particularly on the offensive side. And so what about Splash Lab? So we have a bunch of shooting machines in there. The kids can come in there and all their shots are tracked, and they get, they get a percentage at the end of the workout. And then we also have coaches that'll do the full skill development where they're working on multiple things in a small group setting. So it's a pretty cool concept.
It is really cool. Now, is that primarily for preseason, off-season, or do you have your athletes coming in through the on-season and the in-season as well?
Yeah, it's year round. The high school kids, they probably can't get there unless it's like a Sunday where they only get 1 day a week. But for the youth basketball scene, it's pretty much year round now. And, they take small incremental breaks. Like our club basketball program is not going right now. They're on a break, basically from the beginning, the second week in November all the way until January. Then we'll pick back up and they'll start their spring season. So, but they're still training, so they're going to be constantly in there throughout the holiday season.
Well, I like it that you're not single sport. In fact, I have a sense that you don't encourage that too much, seeing that you're catering to several sports at once. Is that the case?
No, that's definitely the case. Early on in my career, I think this is my 18th or 19th year coaching high school basketball now. And I used to be like a single-minded coach. Well, why are you going to go play volleyball when you can be playing basketball all season long, or all summer and spring long? And what I found out is, most of these kids aren't going to be playing in college or after that. So they might as well have fun while they're doing it. And so if they're able to play multiple sports like I did, I think that's the best of both worlds. It decreases the overuse injuries that we're seeing a lot, especially in basketball when kids are playing 100 games a year from the beginning they're in 3rd grade all the way through high school. And you see so many kids have catastrophic injuries because of this overuse, in my opinion. So when you're using different muscles, I just think it makes you a more rounded athlete. And really the best athletes are playing multiple sports. And then once you get to maybe after your freshman year, if you think you can have an opportunity to play in college, then by all means, you probably need to kind of focus on that a little bit more. But even so, I think you play it until you can't and ride it till the wheels fall off.
Now, you had a college career in football. What school was that?
I went to Eastern Oregon University. I played receiver there and had a good career. And, but basketball was kind of always my first love. So in the summers, I would coach the basketball camps for the city of Campbell. So I did that for 5 summers until I got a real job at post college. And, I used to coach at my old high school as well, starting when I was in college. So I'd come back during the winter session, and we'd have the month or month and a half off, and I'd come out and help out. And so that was kind of what ignited me to coaching, and then I got my first head coaching job when I graduated college, and been sticking with it pretty much since '04 now. So.
Yeah, and Valley Christian, it's a good school for the sports programs. I hear it mentioned on this side of the hill pretty often. You guys have a pretty solid program, don't you?
For sure. Yeah. I'm super blessed to be there. This is my 9th year, and I've really enjoyed my time there. They call it the Quest for Excellence up on the hill. It's a beautiful campus with, 360 views of the entire San Jose area. And I just pinch myself every day that I have opportunity to work up there, and they have abundance of resources, and the facilities are phenomenal. The kids are phenomenal, and just because you have resources doesn't mean that you're going to be good. But the coaches and the administration, they want that quest for excellence, and that was one of the things that allured me to go into that program.
Oh, so how do you pursue that quest for excellence? What are some of the key factors that you put into this recipe for success?
Yeah, so it's basically A to the third. So it's academics, obviously, and then you have the arts and then athletics. And so kids get to decide which kind of direction they want to go. And so it's almost like you're choosing a major when you come to Valley Christian. So there's going to be those 3 different paths you're going to be able to take, or applied mathematics and sciences too. So that's kind of all of those things combined. And the superintendent who started the school, Dr. Clifford Doherty, he had this vision of just being excellent in all fields. And it's very rare that you have a school that can be great in all things, but that was kind of the mission that they decided to go with, and it's been really successful. Our arts program is one of the best. Same thing with our applied mathematics and sciences, our robotics team, our dance team, our athletics, as you mentioned, are really second to none. And yeah, it's just a really great environment, but it comes from the top down, and then they're getting like myself or other coaches or other faculty members to kind of mimic the initiation of the school.
Yeah, so in regards to like coaching philosophies and approaches, like how does that carry over into your own coaching? Like that pursuit of excellence. What are some elements that you try to embody for your athletes?
Yeah, that's a great question. And one of the things that I love to talk about, there's an acronym. We're actually going to have a parent meeting tomorrow, so it's getting me ready for it. But it's called CARE, and so the C in CARE is consistency. You got to be consistent no matter what field you're going to be in. I mean, you started your gym in the '90s; it's still going now, and that's one of the parts to high performers, or individuals that are really well off in their field, is because they're consistent day in and day out. And I'm obsessed with the people that do it for a long period of time, and I can't wait to have you on my podcast to understand how you've had so much great longevity. The other thing is, the A is going to be the attitude. What is your attitude and your approach every single day when you step in, whether that be the court, whether that be the classroom, whether that be your family. You got to have a great approach and an attitude that goes with it, because you can have all the talent in the world and your attitude is crappy, then you're not going to be a great person to be around. And we know a lot of great individuals that have great talents, but their gifts and abilities don't allow them to flourish because their attitude is poor. So the R is going to be respect, and respecting the process, respecting everybody around you. It's just a word that encompasses so much. And then the last thing is going to be your energy and your effort. Can you provide energy and effort even when you don't have it? Like this morning, I did not want to wake up. I got poor sleep. We had practice at 6:30 in the morning, and I had to make sure that I was there for those kids, because that was that was what I preach every single day. So if I'm preaching, I got to bring energy and effort. When I step in the door, I'm making sure that I'm there to serve. So care is really one of the pillars of our program, and we teach that every day, not just what we say, but more importantly, our actions.
Now, do you take on more than one sport in regards to coaching through the school year?
I just particularly coach basketball. Season is basically from September to March. The real practices start in November, and then games start actually next week. So I'm excited to get playing real games instead of these scrimmages and just practices. So I coach just basketball, and then our club stuff. I'll oversee it all, but I'm only one person. I can't coach multiple sports right now.
So no football. That's interesting.
No, I love football, but it's time consuming. And basketball, we get to play a lot more games. So football, you train basically 9 months to play 10 games that are guaranteed. And for me, basketball was always so fun because we can always play a game. We can jump in a tournament on the weekend as we can play, and I can coach, and you're getting so many more reps too, game reps, because you can't really replicate game reps in football in the summer with no pads, but you can only get game reps as a coach or a player, really, if you're playing in games. And so with the club program, I'm coaching 50 games throughout the spring and summer, and I bring my family along to a lot of the tournaments, whether they be out of town or stuff like that. And we just kind of make it a family oriented thing where everybody in our family, my two kids and my wife, will go, whether it be Vegas or Los Angeles, or we'll go to stop at Disneyland, that sort of thing. So it's cool.
That's really cool. So with the different jobs you've had, you mentioned something, you had to go get a real job. What
Yeah.
was that?
Yeah. My first real job was, well, I had two first real jobs. My undergrad is in psychology, so I thought I wanted to be a sports psychologist. So I was trying to get in any occupation in that field. And so the first job that came up for me was a behavior specialist, and I would be working with special needs children, specifically children with autism. So basically, I was a one-on-one teacher for kids that had autism, and I quickly found out after 4 months this is really not my calling. I think God had something else in store for me because I just didn't have the patience, and I really wanted to help these people. But it was really frustrating, and probably frustrating for the kids too, because I come from this world of you have discipline and you do all these things, but with the ABA, applied behavioral analysis, you can't react to certain things, and that was really difficult for me to do. And so I was just I prayed about it, and I made sure that I talked to my family, and they said, "Hey, maybe this isn't for you." And so my buddy was working at a place called Felice Insurance. It is a privately held brokerage firm here in the Bay Area, but they have several other locations. But the headquarters was here. And I met this guy named Ron Felice. I'm not sure if you know him or not, but he lives in Los Gatos, Monte Sereno, and he just had this dynamic personality. And I gravitated towards that, just like a lot of people. He just really brings people in, and he cares about people so much. And so he told me about this sales job where I would start out in the marketing department, and I would be, telemarketing or email marketing, trying to find clients. And I started to learn the business of insurance, go get your insurance license, and do that sort of thing. And then I started to set some appointments, and I would go out with some of the senior brokers, and they really took me under their wing. They were almost like coaches as well. And they see the young player coming up. Hey, let's teach a young buck how to do this. And so I spent 9 years there, and I've never had a better time under the direction of Ron Felice and the great people that he had working with him. It was a family environment. All his best friends from high school or college were working there, and there were all the senior brokers. And then, friends of friends got introduced to the company, and he sold it, by the way, a few years back. For a very good sum of money. But he made it family all the way, and he took care of everybody along that way. Like, he was able to help me get my first home, and I'm forever grateful for that opportunity with Ron Felice. He just showed you how to do things. Like, I thought it was the coolest thing that you can get Gatorade and coffee and water for free, and he just had it out. It was food every Friday. They took care of us, to the extent that I had never been taken care of that much by an employer, and it was just an awesome experience.
Yeah, I'm sure you got a lot of elements to carry over into what you're doing now. And it's curious because I think of the different jobs I had growing up and through the college years and then before kind of settling into a career and a business. But I look back at all of those different occupations, and although they seem to be unrelated, there's always some elements that I can attribute back to those job experiences that are elements of being successful as a trainer, a coach, a dad, a husband, and so on. Are there some other kind of jobs that you had, like through college or high school, you can look back and go, oh, yeah, that really helped me prepare to be a better teacher, a better father, a better coach?
Yeah, you hit it right on the head. There's just so many different things that you can take from any opportunity that you get. I'll just rattle off a couple, and I'll do it quickly. But my first, my mom got it for me because she had just bought me a car, a 1982 BMW, the same year that I was born, and I'm 16 years old, and I get this, this car that's 16 years old as well, and you couldn't even get in on the you couldn't even get I couldn't even I you couldn't open the passenger side door. Like, I had to go through and open it for somebody if they wanted to come in. But she got me this job at the Winchester Mystery House, which, when I look back on it, that was one of the pivotal moments in my life, because I had to give tours, and I wasn't very outspoken when I was young. I was very kind of reserved and shy, not loud at all. And I'm still that way in a lot of ways, but when I get into a situation where I have to speak similar to this, it comes very naturally to me, but it didn't then. So I had to remember this script from the Winchester Mystery House. It's an hour and 15 to an hour 30-minute tour. And so the book is literally this big that you have to remember. But I still remember it today. I can rattle off. Welcome to the Winchester Mystery House. My name is Chris. I'll be your tour guide through Mrs. Winchester's wonderful but bizarre 142-room Victorian mansion. The Winchester Mystery House is on the National Registry of Historic Landmarks, California landmark number 868, blah, 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 blah. So I can literally, recall that. And I'm giving tours to infants, toddlers, adolescents, adults, and, elderly all at once. And I've got to command this group on an hour and a half tour. And that really changed the trajectory of my personality. And if I didn't have that, I wouldn't be able to speak the way I do. I had to be able to identify with a large group of people, and I had to do it really quickly. And I had to get some accountability. So that knowledge that you had, and that was one thing that I really taught me understanding what you know and how to present it in a way that other people can understand. So that was the first job. And then the second one was, I was like right before college, I worked at the San Jose water company, and we would oftentimes come up in your area, and we would be, lopping all of the debris and trees away from, the water supply and things like that. But they would have me digging like 6 foot to 8 foot trenches, and we're getting sprayed with water because we have to dig around deep enough to get, like, if there's a big leak, you got to go in underground, and you're just getting sprayed with water until they can kind of basically put the vise around it where now they can at least stop the water from going. So I just remember that, and I was like, I never want to do this again. I have so much respect for the people that do that job as well as construction jobs, because that just wasn't me. I wasn't gonna do that. And it was really good money, because it had to be for you to be in that. But those guys, they wanted you to work because they're doing that year round, and they get these these college kids that come in and they try to, and they're trying to show us what to do, but it's almost like a break for them. They're like, all right, dig this hole. And that's what we did. So those two jobs really changed my mind on what I wanted to do. And then, yeah, it just kind of painted a picture for me. What am I passionate about? And I'm going to try to do everything I can to go that direction when I can do it.
Well, yeah, I can appreciate manual labor. Definitely, it breeds determination and a strong work ethic. You know,
And,
those
and,
type of things that go well with coaching.
and let me ask you, give me one job that you had that kind of opened your eyes to different life lessons that you've used
Ah,
still to this day.
my cousin had an asphalt paving company out of North Reading, Massachusetts.
Ooh,
And so in the summertime, in between college years, I would work for him for $9 an hour, which at that time, you know, you were still in grade school, but that was a
right.
heck of a lot of money to make
Yeah.
$9 an hour. It was better than anything else I had been doing. But and I don't grow very tall. I grow wider than I do higher. So
Yeah.
any kind of areas that they had to get into underneath stairwells or in between small alleys, that's where I would be sent with the asphalt and the wheelbarrow and these little wooden dog bone shaped kind of things that you would put underneath your work boots to tamp down around different edges that the tamps or the roller couldn't get to.
Right.
And we would start at about 8 in the morning. We wouldn't finish until about 5 in the evening, and it was going. It was some great exercise. I tell you, talk about manual labor being a great workout. It was.
Wow.
I got in great shape, but at the same time, it's you realize, boy, it is a tremendous amount of discipline, and you show up, and you just there's no getting hiding in the corner or anything else. You're front and present, and somebody else is relying on you. You've got a team that's relying on you, and there's no slackers here. And you gotta pull up your bootstraps and get to work. So it was fantastic. I really loved it.
No, that's a great story. And that's really what we do it for. We've learned because of these tough experiences. The tough experiences are the ones that really mold you and allow you to persevere when things get difficult, whether that be with our businesses, whether it be with life, our relationships. Just lean into the hard parts. And usually it's only a moment in time too. That's the thing. We didn't have a great practice this morning, and we're trying to teach the kids, hey, this is only a moment in time. Because at 9 o'clock, when practice is over, you're going to be fully recovered and you're going to go about the rest of your day. But if you can fight through this small moment to get to the end of it, you're going to feel so much better and you're going to feel so much more accomplished if you can fight through that fatigue and get through to the next thing. So sounds like you learned that at an early age as well.
Oh yeah, definitely. Now, with your athletes being that age right now, I mean, you've set up a really um, great. I won't say it's a foundation, an organization. You've set up. Um, how would you say it? I mean, with the basketball, a league in itself. Wasn't that it in San Jose?
Yeah, it's a club basketball program that we have travel teams. So
Yeah.
these teams will basically travel. Well, a lot of the tournaments are local, but in the spring and summer, there's a lot more travel. Um, and they'll play against other travel teams, and it's just a really great experience for the kids to get showcased on another level. And especially when you get into high school, they plan these, they call them NCAA viewing tournaments, where they're playing in front of college kids, or excuse me, college coaches, which is 5 times throughout the year. And you're kind of building up your whole spring and summer for these events to get them ready to get scouted and get them opportunity to play at the next level if that's what they want to do. And so, we started this back in 2010. I say we because it's really my friends that I grew up with playing, and people that I went to college with. And I was just the one that just kind of researched how to get, well, an LLC and then a nonprofit and do these things. But it's really the people around you. My best friend is our vice president, and he's been with us from day one. And that's been the most important part. And I followed the template that Ron Felice had, bring your family and friends involved. There's been many times where our parents are running the check-in stations for these camps and these clinics, and our moms are bragging on us. Oh, my son is Chris and my son is Steven. And, it's just an amazing thing that we're able to do, because without sports, I wouldn't have gone to college. I probably don't know what I would be doing, but I was ignited by sports at a young age. And, when my mom took it away from me, if I wasn't doing what I was supposed to be doing, that's what really changed my mind and saying, hey, other kids are probably like this too. How can we meet them where they're at and help them get to where they want to get to?
Oh boy, kudos to you, because I've coached a lot of youth sports in my years, and you realize just how much of a commitment outside of your regular day-to-day existence that really is.
Yeah.
And it's kind of the unsung hero kind of thing. That's if anybody knew how much time and effort you put into it, aside from your spouse or family members,
Yeah.
they would just shake their head and go, "What are you doing?" So I can only imagine the magnitude of what you created with the club sport, and having to just simply coordinate different tournaments. And then I'm sure you've hosted some. So the
Mhm.
logistics of that, how do you do that and still have time to eat, sleep, and stay healthy?
Well, I've tried to diversify and bring people along to basically help me out. It was my birthday last week. I just turned 39, and I've got a great group of people around. Without these people and allowing them to do it, I used to want to hold on to everything. I was a very controlling as far as the business is concerned. But now, like we have our Thanksgiving camp going on right now in Los Gatos, and it's a 3-day camp. A lot of the kids are out of school, and all I did was host a Zoom meeting last night with the staff members to make sure that these 40 kids had a great experience. And we put a lot of the younger up and coming coaches in charge of that, similar to what I would used to be doing when I was coming up and trying to get cut my teeth on this coaching thing. And so I won't show up at all this week. But my stamp is still on it. I understand what's going on. They'll send me a text, or I'll have one of the other one of our other top guys go over there and just check and make sure everything's going well. But if you got good people, you trust them, it ends up working out. So I've just tried to diversify, and I know that, like, the hard part is when my son is like, "Daddy, you're always working," I want to make sure that I'm home for those moments. And I try to bring them along as much as possible too. So they'll come to the games, and they'll come in the locker room and do all that stuff. We'll have a team retreat, and my family's right there with me. I want them experiencing that. So not only does my family get to share a part of this team, but my team gets to see, hey, this guy's spending a lot of time with us and away from his family. So that's what I've been trying to do. And when I first started, I would just try to do everything. And I found out that you just can't do everything. But, Ron never made any marketing pitches. He let everybody else do it. And when he needed to go out there, he did. If it was a bit like Facebook was one of their clients when Facebook was early, same thing with Pandora. Well, Ron was at those, but, a small, 30-person company Ron wouldn't go to. He'd send somebody like me, and I would be glad to go, because, I get to increase my revenue if we make this sale. So, just trying to diversify and try to optimize as much as possible. I'll watch my film on the Peloton. So of our games or practices, I'll watch it while I'm riding the bike. So now I'm getting two things done at once instead of just watching the Peloton instructor. Now I can actually get something done as well. So just trying to cross those things off and incorporate the family together. Just trying to combine things as much as possible while still getting the most out of it.
And you mentioned before we started that your wife is also a personal trainer. And so are you a trainer as well? Do you train clients?
No, basketball. We have a
Okay.
we have a basketball court in our backyard too, and but I really don't train too many kids anymore. It's just really difficult. One, I want everybody to, if you're going to train with me, I can't see you just one day a week and then you don't do anything the rest of that time because it's just not going to work. So if you're willing to put in the extra work, great. I'll train you, but this is going to be like a little bit of work on your end. It's not just come see a trainer and then that's it. It's similar maybe to what you do is like, hey, I can't watch what you eat, but you're going to have to make sure that you eat correctly the days, all the other days, especially when I don't see you, right? Just to make sure that they're, accountable to it. And I don't want to take anybody's money. I want everybody that either uses me as a resource to help them get better. I want them to be able to actually see that through and not, a lot of people will just take people's money and I don't want to do that. And also just the time commitment that it takes. I'm going to go all in if I'm helping somebody. And I can't give that time to everybody because my family time is extremely important. It's the most important. But my wife is fantastic. She's a nurse at Stanford. She's in management. She's in orthopedics. And so she trains 4 times a week, and a lot of it's on Zoom now. So a group of her friends that pop on Zoom, and she'll lead them all through a workout while she's doing it too. She'll even do some program some workouts for me, which I think is pretty cool. And because you only know what you know, like I only want to do my workouts, but she stretches me in doing some things that and body movements that I normally don't do. And she's fantastic, and she's a terrific mother. She wakes up with our 2 kids almost every single morning, gives me a little bit of extra time to sleep in. So I got it really good. I really outkicked my coverage on that.
Yeah, that's nice. Now, when it comes to all these teams and the tournaments, what's the age range of athletes? Are we from toddlers on up? What's the minimal and maximal ages?
Yeah, since I have young kids, we just started a couple different smaller programs for kids 3 to 9, and then our program Top Flight Elite starts at 10 to and it goes to 18 basically when they're seniors, and then it doesn't end from there. Like a lot of our coaches end up coming back after they played in college, and they end up coaching our camps, and they'll work throughout the summer where you can now kind of pay it forward, and now you get to pay these young people just like to get paid more than they would make working at Pac Sun or something like that, and they get to do something they love and be around the game. So that's a win-win-win for me, where the kids grow up in our program, they get the opportunity to play in college, and they come back and they can make some money too. So it's really cool when you can see that through.
Well, I imagine you've got a pretty good success rate when it comes to advancing these kids onto college. Do you, what's the process there? Are you involved with, you already mentioned, the coordinating with some of the college recruiters, so to speak, or scouts, but what else do you do if you do things to
Mhm.
help ensure these kids are going to higher levels of learning?
Yeah, I would be I would be remiss if I just said that I helped everybody. No, it's a lot of the coaches. So we'll let the coaches, their head coach, kind of lead that charge. But over our 13-year existence, we've had over 200 kids go to college, getting college scholarships, and so that's really important to us to help these kids go on further. And so it's a long process. People don't understand what it actually entails. Like kids think, oh, they got a letter. Well, that's not really an offer. Or a coach came to our game. Oh, well, that's not really an offer. Oh, than me. Well, that's really not an offer until they actually say, hey, we want to give you a scholarship to come here. And a lot of times, well, it can't really occur unless you reach out prior to your junior year. Your junior year, they can contact you pretty much, 9 months out of the year. But before then, the kids have to be reaching out. So like if you want to go on a college visit, pick some schools that you might want to go to, and oh, we're in LA for a trip. Okay, well, you can hit LMU, you can hit UC Irvine, you can hit all of these schools down here, and they'll show you around. And so now they know who you are, and you're basically promoting yourself. Because if you just sit around and wait, whether that be the kid and or the parents, they're not going to just come sit down on this baseline and watch your game because they don't know who you are. So you really have to do your own marketing. Social media can be a great thing to that as well. And if you're like really good, obviously they're going to find you. But most of the kids that we deal with aren't like top 100 kids. All top 100 kids, they're going to be found. They're going to play at the next level, and they're going to have a multitude of options. But most kids will not have that. You know, me, for instance, same thing. I thought I was going to Duke in North Carolina when I was in high school. Everybody did, but that's really not the case. And so you can go to a school, get your schooling paid for, get your education, and come out ready, ready to attack whatever it is that you want to do, because you went through this process. And one thing that Ron also talked about is he loved former athletes. Like almost everybody at his company was a former athlete. That's because they've gone through something, they've conquered it, and they've been able to use all of these scars to help them in this business world. So yeah, that's just a little bit of how it all plays out with the recruiters and whatnot. But a lot of parents have questions. We've even done seminars, stuff like that, and they're still online. We did it for free because we want to give parents the information so they can really help their children. And there's a lot of people that will feed into this misinformation. Oh, come play with us and we'll get you a college scholarship. I would never guarantee that. The only two things that we guarantee, Rocky, are one, we want your kid to have fun. If they have that, great. And two, secondly, they learned about basketball or football or baseball or whatever sport they're playing in our program. That's a report card. And then essentially the coach's report card is, do those kids come back the next season? And if they do, they've done a great job.
Nice. So you mentioned one thing as we began this conversation was eating correctly.
Yep.
Right. In terms of your athletes, making sure they're eating correctly. But what does that mean? Can you be more specific when it comes to eating correctly?
For sure. Not the grocery store, but Whole Foods. Fruits, vegetables, seeds, nuts, grains, all those things where you actually have to make it, and not just pick it up really quickly. There's all the fast food restaurants, obviously, are just not good for you. So just trying to find ways to eat well. So my wife and I, every Sunday, we'll meal prep. We'll put together, our brown rice. We've been going away from the turkey because the ground beef just tastes so much better recently. But we've been doing ground beef 80-20 because it's just a little bit more fat. It's just more tasty. Whether it be broccoli, we'll get our other starches with it, either potatoes or sweet potatoes or stuff like that. So, just eating whole foods and understanding that what you put in your body is going to affect your performance, whether that be mentally, in the classroom, or physically on the court. So what you put in your body really matters. And then recovery too, sleep, super important. Making sure you're getting adequate amounts of protein, all those things we talk to our athletes about now. Whether they do them or not is going to be up to them. And sometimes it's out of convenience where hey, I'm going to stop at Chick-fil-A because it's quick and I got to eat. And that's okay every now and again. Like, I like Chick-fil-A. I'm just not going to eat it every week. I'm not going to even eat it every month. I'm going to eat it every 3 months maybe. But nutrition is extremely important. Decrease in inflammation. I know you had Desiree Lotz on, who I had on my podcast too, and she talks about her CalMag C and just the different minerals and making sure your body has enough magnesium and stuff like that, and trying things out that work for you, because what works for Rocky may not work for me,
Right.
and you have to go trial and error a lot of times. Like I love athletic greens. I take it every single day, but my wife's stomach, she can't really, it doesn't sit well with her. So she can't take it. Well, take a different multivitamin or something like that. That'll help you, or it just makes half a scoop or whatnot. So yeah, a long-winded answer to get to your question. Nutrition is important, I think, but most importantly, eating whole foods, fruits and vegetables, meat if you like that too. Yeah.
Yeah. Now you do have a podcast. We just mentioned that. And the name of your podcast?
It's called Beyond the Buckets. So I'm a basketball coach, but I'm much more than that. And a lot of the people that we bring on, similar to you, which I can't wait to have you on, are similar to that. Yes, you do own a gym, but you have other things that you're interested in, other talents and gifts and abilities that you have, and that's really what it's about. So it's we started off bringing in a lot of basketball coaches or sports coaches, whether that be college, high school, or even the pros, and it turned into players or just doctors, lawyers, you name it now. So it's been really cool. Similar to you, it's just I'm getting the best version of everybody, and a lot of times it's just a selfish thing because I'm getting the best of all these great performers, and they may not be, and that's perfectly fine because there's a lot of success stories out here. There's a lot of people in the Silicon Valley that are millionaires and you wouldn't even know it. And you just got to get their story on what makes them tick. And so when I speak to somebody like you or anybody else that we've had on the podcast, it ignites me to try to be a little bit better. And I'm going to take like the story you told me about the stamp in the concrete when when you were young. I'm going to remember that. And that's a story that's like, hey, I can vibe with that. I dig that. And it's going to allow me to continue to hopefully share, and maybe somebody hears something on this podcast that resonates and maybe it helps them. But that's what it's really all about. But a lot of it, honestly, is just selfishness and,
Sure.
and trying to acquire more information because I only know what I know, and I got to know what you know.
Yeah, you get a lot of gifts from just having a conversation with somebody. Are there some that were unexpected, like things that since you've been doing your podcast, a gift that you've received, like for your betterment, without expecting it? Anything that you can kind of put your finger on when it comes to that?
Well, I call everybody that's on my podcast friends or even family at this point. And so, of course, you'll get the gift bag or whatever for the book from the author. But the one story that really sticks with me, a young lady named Sarah Dramas. She's a long distance hiker, and she's one of the only women. I think there's maybe like 250 people total that have done the Continental Divide, or there's three different major hikes in North America. And she basically, well, one of them is the Continental Divide. You walk from Mexico, the border of Mexico, right near San Diego, and you walk all the way up to Canada. And she did that in about 4.5, 5 months. But the story that she said right before she finished, she basically thought she was going to die that night. She was extremely cold, battling hypothermia, or she thought she was, and she made a video message to her mom and said, hey, I just want to let you know I love you and all these things, and basically said her goodbye story. And something happened where she was able to now make it, because it was getting to be wintertime, and she almost didn't make it. And something happened. I forget the exact details. I'd have to go back and double check because I don't want to mess the story up. But she was able to make it. She was literally probably a day away from death. She was able to push through and made it to the final checkpoint, um, and get the proper care she needs and food and all that. And it's just an amazing story. And
Mm.
I'll always remember that, similar to your concrete stamping story, wearing those boots. So that has kind of been the gift, and you kind of take you take a little piece. I can literally name every single podcast and think of one little instance where it's like, man, they really battled and they got through it. And so if I'm going through a difficult day, and today wasn't a great day, but as soon as I got on here, I had great energy with you because you took your time to spend with me. That's important. That's the most important thing that we have on this earth is our time. And for you to say, hey, I want you on my podcast, man, that means a lot to me, and that's really it. So that's been the biggest gift that I've received by doing the podcast. But I'd like to ask the same question to you.
Oh my. Well, I gained so much knowledge, and I guess I'm just kind of a knowledge junkie. I love learning. It doesn't matter what the subject matter is. I love how to find out how things are made, how things have begun. Whether it's companies from the ground up or how the human body works, anything like that. And so when I have guests on that can express information that I'm not privy to. I mean, what a gift that is. You just get the gift of learning, really. And every experience could be a learning opportunity, provided that we're living in the moment and we're accepting of it and we're not just off in another tangent thinking about what you're going to eat for dinner, but actually being connected to the person you're having a conversation with. What I mean, like you say, that's the stories that come out, the memories they have. Fantastic. And and I love the fact that people just they want to share all the guests that come on, and you'll probably find this yourself. You reach out, I get more people saying, yes, I would love to be on your podcast than I get. I think out of say 50 guests, I might get one that I reached out for and that couldn't do it. But not that they didn't want to, they're just some other things came up. So most people just love to share. And that's the nice thing is that it's a wonderful vehicle in which to do that.
Absolutely. Yeah, you're 100% right. And I used to be a person that didn't like to share. I used to try to hold all my good ideas. And when Kobe Bryant died, who's just a little bit older than me, it made me think of, okay, well, what type of legacy do you want to leave for your children, most importantly? And now they can look back if God forbid I was no longer on this earth, they can look back at a repository of over 100 podcasts that I've hosted and they can listen to me, or 20 podcasts that I've been on that they can listen. Oh, this was my dad. And that for me is important. And
Yes.
why would we hold on to things that could help benefit somebody else? So
Yeah.
that was a really big eye opener for me when he passed away, because it made me realize that if you lived 100 years, in the grand scheme of things, in all of life, that's not a long time. So you might as
Hmm.
well get this race moving as much as you can, affect as much change as you can, and do it to the best of your ability. And it doesn't mean that you're going to win at everything. Um, just hopefully you win at the majority of things, and you're going to turn out okay. Because I failed quite a bit in my life.
Well, it seems like, yeah, maybe there's a little failure here and there, but your success rate right now is pretty fantastic with everything you've got going on between coaching, teaching, uh, the tournaments that you're organizing, and of course your podcast. So we're coming to the end, but if you were to tell us, Chris McSwain, by the way, if you're just tuning in, but Coach, how can people find out more about, well, the podcast Beyond the Bucket? That I'm sure you can find that just about anywhere podcasts are heard. But what about the basketball and the sports that you're setting up tournaments for in Silicon Valley for those listening in that area?
Yeah, you can find all the basketball and football stuff on topflightelite.com. And then I have a website, which is McSwain or chris-mcswain.com. And you can find me on there. You can email me. I'm very open to sharing any small ideas or big ones that I may have, or just you want to chat. I would love to interact with any of your listeners too. So most of all that information is on there, and LinkedIn is something that I've really come to enjoy. It's such a great platform, and everybody on there has been fantastic. If you reach out to somebody on LinkedIn, you almost get a response that day. And I've gotten a lot of great guests off of LinkedIn too. So LinkedIn is a great platform that I like to go back and forth with different people on.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. Well, I'll make sure that all the links, connections to you are in the description of the podcast as well. But this has been great. I really appreciate you taking time out of your day and away from the family and away from everything you do just to spend a little time chatting. So thank you for that. And that's another episode of the Rockfit Files. I hope you enjoyed it. I want to thank Chris McSwain for coming on. Be sure to subscribe and also check out his podcast while you're at it. Check out ours, and the other one that we have is the Zealous Podcast, Zelos, if you like to learn about the pros behind the pros in professional sports. We'll see you next week. Have yourself a great time.